Welcome, curious minds, to an exciting journey into the world of biology. Today, we are diving into a fundamental concept, the ecosystem. While our chapter is about the economic importance of bacteria and fungi, understanding ecosystems is key to appreciating their roles. We'll explore what an ecosystem is, how it's built, and how it functions, moving from simple ideas to complex interactions. Get ready to unlock the secrets of nature's interconnected web, starting from the basics and progressing to advanced, competitive insights. Ready to discover how all living and non-living things share their home? Let's start with the easy part. An ecosystem is essentially a big neighborhood where all living things like plants, animals, and even tiny microbes live and interact with non-living things such as sunlight, water, and soil. Think of it like your home, where you, your family, your pets, and even the air and furniture all exist together. Everything in an ecosystem is connected and depends on each other to thrive. It's a complete system, constantly at play. For example, a pond ecosystem includes fish, frogs, and plants, which are living, alongside water, rocks, and sunlight, which are non-living. All these parts work together to make the pond a vibrant, functioning environment. So, what are these parts? We categorize them into two main groups. First, biotic components these are all the living organisms. This includes plants like trees and grasses, animals like deer and birds, and even microscopic life forms like bacteria and fungi in the soil. Second, we have abiotic components these are the non-living physical and chemical factors. Think of sunlight, the water in a river, the air we breathe, the soil beneath our feet, and even the temperature. Now, how do they interact? Living things constantly use non-living things. Plants absorb sunlight and water to grow. Animals drink water and breathe air. And living things also interact with each other. A deer eats grass, or tiny bacteria break down a fallen leaf, returning nutrients to the soil. It's a continuous cycle of interaction. Now, let's test your understanding of these basic concepts. Take a moment to think about these questions. First, can you define an ecosystem in your own words? Second, list 3 living, or biotic, components and 3 non-living, or abiotic, components you might find in a typical forest ecosystem. And finally, give one example of how a living component interacts with a non-living component within any ecosystem you can imagine. Pause, ponder, and prepare your answers. Let's deepen our understanding. How do these components truly work together to keep nature running smoothly? Moving beyond the basics, an ecosystem is a dynamic system where not just living and non-living things exist, but where energy flows and vital nutrients cycle continuously. This constant movement of energy and matter is what sustains life. Within this system, every living organism has a specific role. Producers like plants, make their own food, usually from sunlight, forming the base of all life. Consumers get their energy by eating other organisms, whether it's an animal eating a plant, or a bigger animal eating a smaller one. And crucially, decomposers like bacteria and fungi, break down dead organic matter, recycling essential nutrients back into the environment for producers to use again. This intricate web of roles ensures that nothing goes to waste and life can continue. The non-living, or abiotic, components form the very foundation upon which all life depends. These include crucial physical factors like temperature, the intensity of light, the amount of rainfall, and even the wind. Then there are chemical factors such as the availability of water, the pH of the soil, and the presence of vital minerals like nitrogen and phosphorus. These factors are not just background elements, they actively determine which types of organisms can survive and thrive in a particular ecosystem. For instance, desert ecosystems have specific plants and animals adapted to high temperatures and low water, while rainforests support entirely different life forms due to abundant water and warmth. These abiotic elements directly influence all the biological processes, from photosynthesis in plants to the rate of decomposition by microbes. Two fundamental processes drive every ecosystem: energy flow and nutrient cycling star. Energy flow is largely a one-way street, typically starting with sunlight. Producers capture this solar energy, converting it into chemical energy. This energy then moves through different organisms as they eat each other, but a significant portion is lost as heat at each transfer. It's a continuous, unidirectional flow. In contrast, nutrient cycling is a cyclic movement. Essential chemical elements like carbon, nitrogen, and water are continuously recycled between the living and non-living parts of the ecosystem. For example, decomposers release nutrients from dead organisms back into the soil, which are then absorbed by plants. This ensures that these vital building blocks of life are never fully depleted and remain available for new generations of organisms. Understanding these two processes is key to grasping how ecosystems maintain themselves. Alright, let's solidify your understanding of these medium-level concepts. Here are 5 questions for you. First, how would you differentiate between producers and decomposers, and can you give one example for each? Second, explain the concept of energy flow in an ecosystem, making sure to mention its primary source. Third, what are the main categories of consumers, and can you give an example for each category? Fourth, how do abiotic factors like temperature and water specifically influence the organisms within an ecosystem? And finally, why is nutrient cycling considered a crucial function for the long-term health and stability of an ecosystem? Think carefully. Now, let's elevate our understanding. We'll explore the intricate details of energy transfer and the grand cycles that sustain all life. At the heart of ecosystem function are trophic levels and energy transfer star. Trophic levels define an organism's position in a food chain, from producers at the bottom to top carnivores. Energy moves up these levels, but it's not a perfectly efficient transfer. The **10% law states that only about 10% of the energy from one trophic level is typically transferred to the next. The remaining 90% is lost as heat during metabolic processes or is simply unavailable. This explains why food chains rarely have more than 4 or 5 links. This energy transfer can be visually represented by ecological pyramids like the pyramid of energy, which is always upright, showing the decreasing energy at successive levels. Understanding these dynamics is crucial for grasping how much life an ecosystem can support. Beyond energy, the continuous cycling of elements is vital. Let's look at the carbon cycle and nitrogen cycle star. The carbon cycle describes how carbon atoms move between the atmosphere, oceans, land, and living organisms. Key processes include photosynthesis, where plants absorb atmospheric carbon dioxide, and respiration, where organisms release it. The burning of fossil fuels is a major human impact on this cycle. The nitrogen cycle is equally critical, as nitrogen is essential for proteins and DNA. Atmospheric nitrogen, which is abundant but unusable by most organisms, is converted into usable forms through processes like nitrogen fixation, mainly by bacteria. It then moves through food webs and is recycled by decomposers. These biogeochemical cycles are the lifeblood of ecosystems, constantly replenishing the resources necessary for all organisms to thrive. Ecosystems also provide immense value through what we call ecosystem services star. These are the countless benefits that humans freely gain from the natural environment. Think about it: clean air and water, the pollination of crops by insects, the regulation of climate, protection from floods, and even the aesthetic beauty of a forest for recreation, these are all services ecosystems provide without us paying a direct price. Another key aspect is **ecosystem productivity ***. Gross primary productivity, GPP, is the total amount of energy captured by producers, while net primary productivity, NPP, is the energy left after producers use some for their own survival. NPP represents the actual energy available to consumers and is a measure of an ecosystem's health and capacity to support life. Lastly, ecosystems are not static. They undergo **ecological succession ***, a gradual change in species composition over time. This can be primary succession, starting on bare ground, or secondary succession, occurring after a disturbance like a forest fire, where soil already exists. These dynamics show how ecosystems adapt and recover. Time to tackle some harder questions. First, explain the 10% law in the context of energy transfer between trophic levels. Second, describe the main steps of the carbon cycle and highlight the critical roles of photosynthesis and respiration. Third, differentiate between gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. Fourth, list and briefly explain 3 types of ecosystem services that are beneficial to humans. Fifth, compare and contrast primary and secondary succession with suitable examples. Sixth, why are decomposers absolutely crucial for the efficient functioning of biogeochemical cycles? And finally, how does a food web provide a more realistic representation of energy flow compared to a simple food chain? Good luck! Are you ready to truly master ecosystems? We are about to explore the cutting edge, diving into advanced concepts, quantitative analysis, and real-world implications. Let's begin with a deeper look at **ecological pyramids and their limitations ***. While the pyramid of energy is always upright, pyramids of numbers and biomass can sometimes be inverted. For example, a single large tree can support thousands of insects, resulting in an inverted pyramid of numbers. Similarly, in some aquatic ecosystems, the tiny, fast-reproducing phytoplankton have a smaller biomass at any given moment than the zooplankton that feed on them, leading to an inverted biomass pyramid. These exceptions highlight the complexities of measuring ecosystem structure. We also examine the ** phosphorus and sulfur cycles ** in detail. The phosphorus cycle is unique as it's primarily sedimentary, meaning it lacks a significant gaseous atmospheric phase. Weathering of rocks releases phosphate, which is then absorbed by plants. Excessive phosphorus input from human activities, such as agricultural runoff, is a major cause of eutrophication in aquatic systems. The sulfur cycle is more complex, involving both atmospheric and sedimentary components, with microorganisms playing key roles in its various transformations. Human emissions of sulfur dioxide contribute significantly to acid rain, demonstrating our profound impact on these vital cycles. Ecosystems aren't just static entities, they possess properties like ** stability, resilience, and resistance ***. Stability refers to an ecosystem's ability to maintain its structure and function over time. Resistance is its capacity to resist disturbance and avoid change, while resilience is the speed and extent to which it can recover after a disturbance. Generally, ecosystems with higher biodiversity tend to exhibit greater stability, as a wider variety of species can provide functional redundancy and adapt to changes more effectively. However, human activities are increasingly challenging this stability. Human impact on ecosystems is extensive, ranging from habitat destruction and pollution to climate change and the introduction of invasive species. These impacts lead to biodiversity loss, disruption of essential ecosystem services, and can push ecosystems past their ** tipping points ** where irreversible changes occur. Understanding these concepts is critical for addressing environmental challenges and developing effective conservation strategies. Effective ecosystem management and restoration are crucial for our planet's future. Ecosystem management is a holistic approach to natural resource management that aims to maintain the long-term health and biodiversity of ecosystems while also meeting human needs. This involves understanding complex ecological interactions and often requires collaboration across various stakeholders. Ecosystem restoration, on the other hand, is the active process of assisting the recovery of degraded, damaged, or destroyed ecosystems. Techniques range from large-scale reforestation and wetland creation to bioremediation, which uses organisms to clean up pollutants, and the careful reintroduction of native species. To measure the success of these efforts and track ecosystem health, quantitative ecology employs various tools. This includes using biomarkers to detect environmental stress in organisms, applying ecological indices like the Shannon-Wiener Diversity Index to quantify biodiversity, and utilizing remote sensing and GIS for large-scale monitoring of land cover changes and productivity. Furthermore, ecosystem modeling uses mathematical simulations to predict how ecosystems might respond to various environmental changes or management interventions, providing valuable insights for future planning and conservation. Finally, let's touch upon some emerging concepts in ecology. Ecosystem engineers are organisms that physically modify, maintain, or create habitats, thereby impacting the availability of resources for other species. Think of beavers building dams, altering river flow and creating wetlands, or earthworms aerating and enriching soil. These engineers play disproportionately large roles in shaping their environments. Another critical concept is tipping points star. These are thresholds beyond which an ecosystem undergoes a rapid and often irreversible shift to an alternative state. For example, excessive deforestation in a rainforest could lead to a tipping point where the remaining forest dries out and converts to savanna, fundamentally changing the regional climate and biodiversity. Understanding these tipping points is vital for predicting and preventing catastrophic ecosystem collapses. These advanced insights provide a comprehensive framework for appreciating the intricate balance and vulnerability of the natural world, emphasizing the need for informed stewardship. Now, let's challenge your advanced understanding with these questions. First, discuss the limitations of using pyramids of numbers and biomass, and explain why the pyramid of energy is always upright. Second, trace the complete phosphorus cycle, highlighting its unique aspects compared to carbon and nitrogen cycles, and explain the environmental consequence of its excessive input into aquatic systems. Third, elaborate on the concepts of ecosystem resistance and resilience. How does species diversity potentially influence these properties? Fourth, describe at least 4 major human activities that significantly impact global ecosystems and outline their primary ecological consequences. And fifth, explain the principles behind ecosystem management and provide examples of restoration techniques employed to recover degraded ecosystems. Continuing with our challenging questions. Sixth, how can quantitative ecological tools like diversity indices and remote sensing be effectively used to assess and monitor ecosystem health? Seventh, discuss the crucial role of microorganisms in both the nitrogen and sulfur cycles, detailing specific processes they facilitate. Eighth, differentiate between primary and secondary productivity, explaining how net primary productivity is a crucial metric for evaluating an ecosystem's health and its carrying capacity. Ninth, what are ecosystem engineers? Give 2 distinct examples and describe how they alter their environment and impact other species. And finally, explain the concept of an ecosystem tipping point with a hypothetical or real-world example, discussing its profound implications for conservation efforts. Take your time to formulate comprehensive answers. You've just completed an incredible journey through the concept of ecosystems, from their basic structure to their complex functions and even advanced ecological principles. We hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and deepened your appreciation for the interconnectedness of life. To continue learning and exploring more fascinating topics in biology and other subjects, visit our website synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting educational content. Keep questioning, keep learning, and keep discovering the wonders of science. Thank you for joining us today.